श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतसावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त तमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम् हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna. This article by Srila Prabhupada was first published in 1956 in New Delhi, India, in Back to Godhead, the magazine he founded in 1944, appealing to his Indian readers to employ everything in transcendental service for the interest of the Lord. He concluded that this alone can bring the desired peace. In the revealed scripture, the Supreme Lord is described as Satchidananda Vigraha. Sat means eternal, Chit means fully cognizant, Ananda means joyful, and Vigraha means a specific personality. Therefore, the Lord or the Supreme Godhead, who is one without a second, is an eternal, joyful personality with a full sense of his own identity. That is a concise description of the Supreme Lord, and no one is equal to or greater than him. The living entities or jivas are minute samples of the Supreme Lord, and therefore we find in their activities the desire for eternal existence, the desire for knowledge of everything, and an urge for seeking happiness in diverse ways. These three qualities of the living being are minutely visible in human society, but they are increased and enjoyed 100 times more by the beings who reside in the upper planets, which are called Bhurlok, Swarlok, Janalok, Tapolok, Maharlok, Brahmalok, and so forth. But even the standard of enjoyment on the highest planet in the material world, which is thousands and thousands of times superior to what we enjoy on this earth, is also described as insignificant in comparison to the spiritual bliss enjoyed in the company of the Supreme Lord. His loving service in different mellows relationships makes the even the enjoyment of merging with this impersonal spiritual influence as insignificant as a drop of water compared with the ocean. Other Mataji's kindly start reading.
Hetvi Mataji.
Krishna. Every living being is ambitious to have the topmost level of enjoyment in the material world, and yet one is always unhappy here. This unhappiness is present on all the above mentioned planets in spite of a long lifespan and high standards of comfort. That is the law of material nature. One can increase the duration of life and standard of comfort to the highest capacity, and yet by the law of material nature one will be unhappy. The reason is that the quality of happiness suitable for our constitution is different from the happiness derived from material activities. The living entity is a minute particle of Satchidanand Vigraha, and therefore he necessarily has a propensity for joyfulness that is spiritual in quality, but he is vainly trying to derive his spiritual joyfulness from the foreign atmosphere of the material nature. A fish that is taken out of the water cannot be happy by any arrangement of happiness on the land. It must माताजी scroll कीजिए. It must have an aquatic habitation. In the same way, a minute Satchidanand living entity cannot be really happy through any amount of material planning conceived by his illuminated brain. Therefore, the living entity must be given a different type of happiness, transcendental happiness, which is called spiritual bliss. Our ambitions should be aimed at enjoying spiritual bliss and not material happiness.
Okay,
The
Hare
ambition.
Krishna. Ruchi Mataji, you can read.
The ambition for spiritual bliss is good, but the method of attaining this standard
Hare Krishna. The ambition for his spiritual bliss is good, but the method of attaining his standard is not merely a negate material happiness. The theoretical negation of material activities as propounded by Sripada Sankaracharya may be relevant for an insignificant section of men, but the devotional activities propounded by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the best and surest way. हरे कृष्ण माता जी स्क्रीन शो नहीं हो रही है. Hare Krishna Mataji, screen not visible.
So Bharti Mataji, you can start.
Yes. The ambition of spiritual bliss is good. The method of attaining this standard happiness. The oracle of material activities as stated by Parini, the insufficient of men, but the devotional activities propounded by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the best and surest way of attaining spiritual bliss of material nature. Hankering after material happiness is called lust, and in the lustful activities are sure to meet with the body of a venomous snake. Very cool. But if a man wants the coolness of the snake's body and therefore garlands himself with the snake, he will be killed by the snake bite. Snake, the material senses are snakes, and indulging so-called material surely kills one's spiritual self-awareness. Therefore, us, therefore, sense the real sources of happiness. Once a foolish man who had experience of the taste of sugarcane was told by a friend to taste in sweetness. When the man inquired about sugarcane, parents friend imperfectly him sugarcane resembles a bamboo stick. The foolish man thus began trying to extract sugarcane juice from a bamboo stick, but naturally baffled in attempt. Having this search for external happiness within the material world, which is not only full of misery, but also transient and in the Bhagavad Gita, the material world is described as full of miseries. The ambition for happiness is good. Attempt to derive from inert matter by so-called scientific arrangement is an illusion. Befooled persons cannot understand this. The Gita 16.13 describes how a person driven by the lust for material has thinks so much wealth I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future.
Okay, Ruchi Mataji, you can read.
पूर्वी माता जी. माता जी रुचि माता जी
क्या माताजी?
माता जी नहीं है यहाँ पे.
पूर्वी माताजी है.
हाँ पूर्वी माता जी.
पूर्वी माताजी, you can read. ओके हम ही रीड कर लेते हैं। और कोई है
Okay.
मीटिंग?
No, Mataji, 3 participant only.
Okay. The atheistic or godless civilization is huge affair of sense gratification, and everyone is now mad after money to keep up an empty show. Everyone is seeking money because that is the medium of exchange for sense gratificatory objects. To expect peace in such an atmosphere of godrush pandemonium is a utopian dream. As long as there is even a slight tinge of madness for sense gratification, peace will remain far and far away. The reason is that by nature everyone is an eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord, and therefore we cannot enjoy anything for our personal interest. We have to employ everything in transcendental service for the interest of the Lord. This alone can bring about the desired peace. A part of the body cannot make itself satisfied. It can only serve the whole body and derive satisfaction from that service. But now everyone is busy in self-interested business and no one is prepared to serve the Lord. That is the basic cause of material existence, from the highest executive administrator down to the lowest sweeper in the street. Everyone is working with the thought of unlawful accumulation of wealth, but to work merely for one's self-interest is unlawful and destructive. Even the cultivation of spiritual realization merely for one's self-interest is unlawful and destructive. As a result of all the unlawful money making, there is no scarcity of money in the world, but there is a scarcity of peace, since the whole of our human energy has been derived to this money making. The money making capacity of the total population has certainly increased, but the result is that such an unrestricted and unlawful inflation of money has created a bad economy and has enabled us to manufacture huge costly weapons that threaten to destroy the every result of such money making. Manju Mataji, you can read.
Hare Krishna. Instead of enjoying peace, the leaders of big money making countries are now making big plans how they can save themselves from the modern destructive weapons. And yet, a huge sum of money is being thrown into the sea for experiments with such dreadful weapons. Such experiments are being carried out not only at huge monetary cost, but also at the cost of many poor lives, thereby binding such nations to the laws of karma, that is the illusion of material nature. As a result of the impulse for sense gratification, money is earned by spoiled energy, and it is then spent for the destruction of the human race. The energy of the human race is thus spoiled by the law of nature, because that energy is diverted from the service of the Lord, who is actually the owner of all energies. Wealth derives from Mother Lakshmi, or the goddess of fortune. As the Vedic literatures explain, the goddess of fortune is meant to serve Lord Narayana, the source of all the naras or living beings. The naras are also meant to serve Narayana, the Supreme Lord. Under the guidance of the goddess of fortune, the living being cannot enjoy the goddess of fortune without serving Narayana or Krishna, and therefore, whoever desires to enjoy her wrongly will be punished by the laws of nature, and the money itself will become the cause of destruction instead of being the cause of peace and prosperity. Such a unlawfully accumulated money is now being snatched away from the miserly citizens by various methods of state taxation for the various national and international war funds, which spend the money in a wasteful manner. The citizen is no longer satisfied with the just enough money to maintain his family nicely and cultivate a spiritual knowledge, both of which are essential in human life. He now wants money unlimitedly for satisfying insatiable desires, and in proportion to his unlawful desires, his accumulated money is now being taken away by the agents of the illusionary nature in the shape of medical practitioners, lawyers, tax collectors, societies, institutions, and so-called religionists, as well as by famines, earthquakes, and many more other such calamities.
कि
One
पार्टी में
miser,
Okay, I can. One miser, one miser who, under the dictation of the illusory nature, hesitated to purchase a copy of Back of Godhead, spent 25 for a week's supply of medicine and then died. Thing happened who refused to spend a can service the $3,500 in a, between the members of this house. That is the law of nature. If money is not devoted to the service of the Lord by the law, by nature, it must be spent as spoiled energy in the fight against living problems, disease, and so on. Foolish people have no eyes to see such facts, so necessarily the laws of Supreme Lord befool them. The laws of nature do not allow us to accept more money than is required for maintenance. There is an ample arrangement by the law of nature to provide every living being with his share of food and shelter. But the insatiable lust for the human being has disturbed the whole arrangement of the Almighty for the of all species of life. By the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, there is an ocean of salt because salt is necessary for the living being. In the same manner, God has arranged for sufficient air and light, which are also essential for the living being. One can collect an amount of salt from the storehouse, but one cannot take more salt than he needs. If he takes more salt, he spoils the broth, and if he takes less salt, his eatables become tasteless. On the other hand, if he takes only what he absolutely requires, the food is tasty and he is healthy. The ambition for wealth, for more than we need, is harmful. Just as eating more salt than we absolutely need is harmful, that is a law of nature. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण। किसी को कुछ शेयर करना हो तो कर सकते हैं। ठीक है, तो हम एंड करें।
जी माता जी।
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।